everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video, this cute little kind of profile picture character. So just take your time to get all of your shapes and proportions and everything right as we go through it, but it is not too hard, I promise. If you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that is something you are interested in, go ahead and subscribe. I also offer extra tutorials over on Patreon, so if you want to check that out, I have it linked in the description below. We've been doing some awesome drawings over there recently. But before we get started, the only thing that you will need to do is download the color palette. I have it linked in the description below. It's totally free to download. Just open up the file that downloads on your iPad, and it will automatically pop into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. We don't use any custom brushes. All the brushes that we use are standard Procreate brushes, so there's nothing else to download, just the color palette. I will also post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed on the screen and in the description below so that you can use those to set up your canvas. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we will get started. Okay, here is the color palette that we will be using today. Feel free to experiment with different hair colors and skin tones if you would like to. We just use a variation on all of them. So like for our hair color, we use a little bit lighter and a little bit darker. Same thing for our face. We use a base color and then a couple lighter colors and a couple darker colors and then a nice blush and lip color as well. So feel free to mess around with that if you would like. Otherwise, let's just go ahead and get started. The first thing that we're going to do is set our background color to this kind of brownish color on our color palette, the very first one. But to do so, we will just go to our layer menu, click on this background color layer to open up our color selector and select the first color on the first row of our color palette to set it to that color. Then we'll just go back to our layer menu, make sure we're on layer 1 here, and we will go ahead and get started on the face. So we were first going to draw the base face shape. So let's just go ahead and grab our first color on the second row of the color palette now. We are first going to start with the monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. I have it set to about 30%. And we are just going to draw a perfect circle. So we are just going to draw a nice circle shape. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth and then touch your finger on the screen to turn it into a perfect circle. Set a good size that you like, maybe just like a good medium size, nothing too small, nothing too big though. Maybe about like that. We can resize it in a moment as well, but set it around a good size and then go ahead and fill it in. Grab our arrow tool. Let's first snap it to the center of our screen, so make sure the snapping is turned on in the bottom left. Then we are going to snap it to the center, so where we see our two yellow lines, so a horizontal line and a vertical line. Right there is the center. And so then we can resize it more if we need to on uniform. If you want the whole thing to just be a little bit bigger or smaller, we just need a good amount of room around the side for like our hair. So I am going to make mine a little bit smaller. Recenter it again. Okay, so then we should have more room for our hair and everything around it. And our ears on the side and stuff. So that looks better. Okay, and now we're going to adjust the shape a little bit. So now we're going to switch to freeform, and we're going to increase it from top to bottom. So grab either the top or bottom middle button, drag it up a good ways, recenter it. Okay, still make sure you have a good amount of room all the way around, so I might downsize mine just a little bit like both ways so I can get a little bit smaller of a little oval here. So I didn't do anything too crazy. Okay, but now we are going to switch to warp, and now we're going to adjust the shape more. So we're going to make the chin at the bottom like a little like flatter and rounder on the bottom here. So I'm just going to grab my corner, my bottom right corner, drag it down into the right. Grab my bottom left corner, do the same thing. Trying to keep them pretty even. Something kind of like this. Maybe even out a little bit further to the right and left. Okay, then we just kind of want it to get like almost straight on the sides here and then wider at the top too. So we will just kind of do the same thing. So we'll grab the top right corner, drag it up into the right, top left corner up into the left. Something more like this. I might do even a little bit further on the bottom to make it a little bit wider there. So just kind of get it about where you like it, make sure it looks pretty even all the way around, and then again, we can switch back to uniform, and if you need to do any downsizing, you can. So I might downsize mine a little further, and then again, just recenter it. So again, we want room all the way around for our hair. So I think that looks pretty good. I might go a little bit further there, so we just have a good medium size. Okay, now let's go ahead and move on. So next up, we're just going to start kind of adding the pieces of our face. So we're probably just going to start with the eyes, since those are kind of like the main part of our face that we can kind of draw everything else off of. So to do so, we will go to our layer menu, add a new layer. We are going to turn on Symmetry for this. So let's go to our gear icon under Canvas, click to turn on the drawing guide, click Edit Drawing Guide, and select Symmetry. You should see a vertical line. If you do not, go ahead and click on Options and select Vertical there, and then go ahead and click Done. Then we just need to make sure that this layer that we're on now says Assisted. It should. If it doesn't, go ahead and click on it and turn on Drawing Assist so the symmetry is active on this layer. And then we will go to our color palette and select the third color on the top row. And we are still on our monoline brush at 30%. And we are just going to draw a nice, good eyeball, kind of just pretty much smack dab in the middle from top to bottom of our face shape, a little bit to the right of our symmetry line. We are going to draw a nice circle. So another circle shape, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen to make it a perfect circle. Set the sides kind of where you would like it. We won't be able to resize it the same way that we did our face shape. So we do need to resize it while we're here. So once you let it go, if you just click this circle button at the top, you can still resize it and kind of place them. So we do want them a good ways from our symmetry line. Again, maybe like halfway between our symmetry line and the side of our face. Maybe even the teeniest bit closer to the side if you want. So just kind of somewhere right around there. And then we also need to resize them if necessary. So to do so, just touch in between two of the blue dots and you can kind of adjust the size. So if you touch on one of them, you'll change it to like an ellipse. Then you can just click this circle button to go back to a circle. But yeah, we do want to set the size while we're here because we won't be able to resize them without having to move them and stuff after we let this go. So just kind of, again, place them halfway from top to bottom, about halfway from the center to the side, maybe a little closer to the side, and then set a nice good size. So we do need room for like our eyelashes around it, so I might lower my size just a little bit, but I want them nice and big and round. And then go ahead and fill them in. So we are going to switch our brush now to make our eyelashes. So first of all, let's go to our layer menu, add a new layer below our eyeball layer that we just created. So right above our face shape layer, click on it and turn on Drawing Assist so we can use Symmetry again. And then we are going to grab our black color, the second color on the top row. And we're going to switch our brush to one of the textured brushes that we're going to use for like a lot of our lines. And that is going to be the dry ink brush under the inking category. So find that. We are going to set it to maybe 10%. Okay, and I'm just going to work on the right eye and it will mirror on the left. So I'm going to zoom in on the right one though. And about halfway through on the right side here, we're going to start our first eyelash. So right halfway through, this will be kind of like our biggest one. So we're going to just draw a kind of curvy line out like this, a curvy line back, and then kind of fill that in. Kind of just thickening it up a little bit. Then we'll go up a little bit further and do another one, maybe slightly smaller. Go up a little bit further, do another one. You can leave like little gaps in between them as well. So we're just kind of getting thinner and smaller as we go up. Okay, then we'll kind of just get even smaller, kind of space them out a little bit more. And then they're all just kind of leaning to the right a little bit until we get closer to this left side. We are going to kind of point them the other way a little bit, or even just kind of straight up and down at like a slight angle, but not as much of a curve. And then I might do one more tiny one here, and then we'll end it. So we won't go all the way to like halfway on the left side. We'll go maybe a third of the way down on the left side there is all. Okay, so then we'll kind of zoom out, see how we like them, redo some of them if you need to. This one I might redo to kind of fill in a better space here. Otherwise that looks pretty good. I might have this one be a little bigger. And I think I want my far right one to stick out a little further instead of being so curved up. So I'm going to get rid of that one. Okay, so that looks good. But make any adjustments that you need to, and then we will do the little ones on the bottom. So again, I'll start like maybe a third of the way in on the bottom here, and I am just going to make little streaks out, not that long, but just some little short streaks like this, spaced out pretty far, and I'm just going to do maybe 5 of them. So just kind of rotating their angle as we go around. I might redo this one and maybe even this one, like so. And they look strange, obviously, because we don't have a pupil or anything, so I know it looks kind of crazy right now, but let's go ahead and move on to our pupil now. So we'll go to the layer menu, add a new layer above our white eyeball layer, click on it and turn on Drawing Assist again. And same brush, same color, same size. We are now going to draw a circle in the center of our eyeball. I'm going to zoom out so that I can see both of them for placement. So I'm just going to draw a nice good sized circle with my brush, kind of go around it a few times, push pretty hard so it's like, so the line is consistent all the way around. Hold it down until it turns into a perfectly smooth shape, and then touch your finger on the screen to make it a perfect circle. Let it go, and again we'll use the circle button at the top to adjust it. So I don't want it like directly in the center. I want it a little bit up and to the left of center, just a tiny bit. And I do want a good amount of white showing all the way around. So I don't want them to be huge, but I don't want them to be too small either. I want them to be nice and big. So I might make mine a teeny bit bigger, maybe about like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill them in. And that looks great. Sometimes when you fill them in, you'll kind of see a little bit better how they actually look, and you might not like them, so go ahead and redo them if you don't like the way they look when they're filled in. Then we will add the little white dots to them, and we will do that just right on this layer. So I will just switch my color back to our whitish color, the third one on the top row. Same brush, same size and everything, and I will just zoom in on the right one here, and in the top right corner, I will make like a small vertical oval. And then right next to it, down into the right a little bit, just like maybe a little circle. Beautiful. Okay, so we'll come back in and do some shading and stuff a little bit later when we do all of that. But that is it for our eyeballs for now. To resize them, if you need to, we will go to our layer menu. We will make sure that all 3 layers are selected. So we have our top one selected, slide right on the eyeballs, slide right on the eyelashes. Grab your arrow tool on uniform and you can downsize them or upsize them, and then just re-center them on our vertical yellow line, or you might get a blue line that's like centered with your face. Either one of those is good, but that is how you can resize them. Just make sure that they're still in the middle from top to bottom, like so. Next up, let's go ahead and draw our eyebrows. So we will do a very similar thing. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer at the very top. Click on it and turn on Drawing Assist so we can use Symmetry. Grab our black color, the second one on the top row, same brush, same size. Okay, and then we're just going to draw a nice eyebrow shape. So going up and to the left a teeny bit from the side of my eyeball here. So up and to the left a little bit. I'll maybe start there. So I'll just maybe make a dot there. That's where we will start. And then for the end of it, I'll go across and down a teeny bit, and then just maybe straight up from this eyelash here. So it's a little ways from the edge of my head, wherever that kind of is for you. We'll make another dot there. Okay, then to connect our two dots, we will make a curved line. So I'm just going to go from one to the other and kind of curve the line. And I maybe want it to even curve a little bit more towards this end. So I might make it kind of more straight and then kind of curve down, something like that. And then I'm pretty close to my dot. I'll just kind of draw past it a little bit here, and then that'll cover that up. But maybe something like that for the bottom of our eyebrow. Then on the left side here, we'll just go up a little ways, maybe at a slight curve. And then kind of connect it in a similar shape. And I kind of start thin, and then I can get thicker if I need to. So something like this, and then I'll just kind of fill it in with my brush to give it some good texture. So they're pretty big and blocky, but that works well for the style of our drawing, so they don't look very realistic at all, but that is okay because it's a cartoon. So I just kind of go over, just kind of smooth things out a little bit more. You can kind of adjust your angles and curves a little bit here. So I kind of thickened it up, but I still prefer them a little bit thicker, so I'm going to thicken up the top of them now. So I'm just kind of angling it, and I'm just going to kind of start here at the side, kind of thicken it up there, kind of bring that through to the front. Okay, then let's see how that looks. That looks pretty good. I might thicken up the bottom just a teeny bit more. Make a nice little point on the end. Okay, I think that looks pretty good, and they're in a good spot too. If yours ended up in a little too high or a little too low, you can just use your arrow tool to move them around. Just keep them on your center line here. But that looks pretty good. Okay, and then just make sure that we have a good amount of room for our hair on the top of our head now. So now that our eyes and eyebrows are drawn, we just want to make sure that we have plenty of room. So I'm just going to give an example back on my head layer on freeform. If it were like, if we just had this much room left, that is not enough to draw our hair. I mean, our hairline would be like right here, and we need we're going to kind of swoop down here a little bit. So we just want to make sure we have a good amount of our forehead left, essentially. So if you need to go back to your face shape layer, the best thing to do is just to grab it with your arrow tool on freeform and just drag it up at the top a little bit so that there's plenty of room there for our forehead. So do that if you need to. Then if you need to as well, just on the bottom here, we're going to have a nose kind of right in the center of our eyeballs, a little bit below them, and then still a mouth underneath that, so we can adjust our face again when we get there if we need to. But if you notice right now that you might need more room, go ahead and adjust for that as well. But yeah, we just want to make sure our forehead's there now that our eyebrows are laid down. Okay, so that being said, next up is our nose. So let's go to our layer menu, add a new layer at the top of all of our layers, and we are not going to turn on drawing assist this time. So just leave it as a normal layer, but same black color at 10%, same brush. And we are just going to first draw the circle part of our nose. So again, a little ways below our eyeballs, or maybe just even right in line with the bottom of our eyeballs, or a little bit below that on our symmetry line here. We are just going to start there and draw a little kind of circle for our nose like this. Just kind of a little C shape. So I started it on my symmetry line, I went around, and then I went past my symmetry line on the bottom a good ways. Okay, and then to make the bridge of our nose, we're just going to make a straight line and just kind of on our symmetry line here, right in between our eyeballs. Maybe just going as far as our eyelashes go, no further than that. So I might just start there, draw kind of a quick line, and I might just draw a really quick one and just kind of leave it kind of freeform like this. Or you can draw a line and hold it down and let it snap to a straight line. Either one of those works. So I might just do that kind of quick straight line like that. And then I might adjust it a little bit. I like the way the line looks. It's just a little crooked. and I might want it to go down a little further. So I'm going to grab my selection tool on freehand. I'm going to select just around my line, grab my arrow tool, rotate it a little bit, maybe drag it down a little bit, like so. So then that all lines up a little better. So that's what you can do if you need to. Okay, then on the same layer, we're going to make our mouth line. So to do that, we are going to again start down here. So make sure you have enough room down here. If you need to, go back and adjust your face shape to make it a little longer on the bottom. But we are just going to start down in this area here, a little left of our center line. Draw a nice curved line going this way, hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Then I'm going to click edit at the top to edit the arc that it created, just to adjust it a little so I don't want it quite so curved like it was. I'm just going to make it a nice kind of smoother curve of a line here. Again, a little ways out on the left, a little ways out on the right. Again, maybe like as far, just like a little inside of our eyeballs, maybe on both sides. And then I have it go a little higher on the right side. Then back to my pen tool on the right side here, we're just going to make the little kind of cheek imprint. So just a nice little curved line on the end there. And that is the start of our mouth. Make sure your line looks good and smooth. Mine has like this little gap here. I'm just going to fill that in. Otherwise, that looks good. Just keep in mind we're going to add like a lip here. So make sure yours is in a good spot for that. I might move my mouth up just a teeny tiny bit so that we have room for the lip on the bottom and still like a chin. So I'm going to grab my selection tool just around my mouth, arrow tool, and just move it straight up a little bit. Maybe right there. And we can always move it again later if we need to, but let's go ahead and just set it there for now. Okay, so now for the lips, let's add those next. So on our layer menu, add a new layer below this layer that we were just on, so right above our eyebrows. Add a layer right in there. Grab the first of our bright red colors here. So it is the 6th one on the second row. And we are going, and this is going to take a little time to kind of get it to look right, kind of like our eyebrows and our eyelashes and stuff. So we'll kind of start with a basic shape and then we'll kind of adjust it as we go. But essentially I'm going to start on the left side here, a little ways in from the edge, so leaving a little bit of the black line kind of extending. I'm just going to make a nice kind of curved line from side to side like this, kind of leaving the same amount of distance on the right side. So I might extend it a little bit further. A nice curved line. Feel free to hold it down too if you would like to. Or I just like to adjust the angle that I draw. That helps me draw better curved lines. Then we'll just go ahead and fill this in with our brush so we get some nice texture. And again, we can build on this in a moment. But let's just start with this. Then we'll do a similar thing on the bottom. So I'll start on that same point on the left side. Maybe just make it a little bit like wider of a lip on the bottom. So I kind of curve it, then I kind of flatten it, then I kind of curve it back. Something kind of like this. So it's just a little bigger overall. We'll fill that in and see how that looks. Okay, looks a little crazy on the bottom. The top one doesn't look too bad. The bottom one just needs to be adjusted a bit. So I'm going to grab my eraser tool and kind of erase this curve here. It got a little too weird. I'll start again though, and so that I can have my texture. So I'll erase with my monoline brush and then I just go in again on that same spot with my dry ink brush to add more texture to the edges like we like. Okay, does that look better? A little bit better. We still want our lip on the bottom to maybe be a little bit bigger, a little bit more even looking. Okay, so same thing on the right side here. I'm gonna grab my eraser tool and just kind of erase that bit there. And just kind of redraw it. Okay, so that looks about like what I'm going for, but feel free to keep adjusting it. You can adjust your top lip too. Mine just kind of ended up pretty good right off the bat. So but adjust that if you need to. Smooth everything out a good amount. Just don't go too overboard. It's easy to just kind of keep drawing and drawing, and then your lips are just ridiculously large. Like mine are right on the edge of being almost too big. So I might even grab my arrow tool on freeform and kind of skinny them up and replace them a little bit. So again, just really take your time to get them how you like them. But yep, our top lip is just a nice curved line. Our bottom lip is also a curved line, but it's a little bit like wider of a curve on the bottom. Again, I might move my lips up a little bit. There's a lot more room between my nose and my lips than my lips and my chin, and I would like that to be a little shorter there. So to do so, I'm going to go to my layer menu because we need to move the black line and the red lips all at the same time, and they're in separate layers. And our lip line is on the same layer as our nose, and we don't want to move our nose. So to do just the mouth, we are going to go to our layer menu. Find our lip layer here, our red lips, that one's selected. Slide right on the layer above it, which is our mouth and nose line layer. So they're both selected. Grab our selection tool and just make sure to select around both the lips and the line. Arrow tool, and then we can move that just all at once. So I'm just going to move that up a good ways to be right about there. So move yours around if you need to. You can also resize it while you're here on like freeform or uniform if you want to make it a different size. That works too. But yeah, I just kind of want more of an even amount of room between my nose and the top of my lips, and then the lips and my chin, so there's a little bit more space there. Okay, let's move on to the ears now. So for our ears, we're going to draw them behind our head layer. So on our layer menu, add a new layer, drag it below your head layer at the very, very bottom, right above our background color layer. We are going to click on it and turn on Drawing Assist so we can use Symmetry again. And we are going to grab the first color on the second row of the color palette to use that same base color that we used for our head. And we're going to switch back to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab at 30%. Okay, I'm just going to zoom in on the right side here. My ear is going to pretty much line up with my eyeball, so I'm going to start it a little bit lower. I'm going to start it a little bit lower than the top of my eyeball. Then we'll go up a little bit and it'll about hit like the top of our eyeball. Curve back around and back in. And it's a little lower than the bottom of my eyeball on the right side where it attaches to the face. That is okay. Okay, so I'm just going to attach it to the face there, kind of smooth out my line. Connect it on the side here from top to bottom so then we can fill it in. And then we can do some smoothing of it. So just going to zoom in here, just kind of smooth it out, just kind of draw like quicker lines to get them nice and smooth. And then adjust your shape if you need to. Mine looks pretty good though. So yeah, just kind of rounds there, rounds out a little bit, and then comes back in. But just mess around with your shape if you need to. So as you can see on my left side here, I have a gap where you can see the background. That is probably because my head must not be perfectly centered after some of the moving around that I did. Or when we did our warping and stuff, maybe this side just is a little bit different than our other side, and that's totally okay. So to fix that, I'm just going to go back to my left side here now and just fill that in. So on the right side, it's behind my head where I just filled in, so that's okay. But just make sure there's no gaps on either side. Now let's go ahead and add the detail inside the ear, which is like the little line that creates like the shape of our ear. So to do that, we'll just go to our layer menu, add a new layer, click on it, turn on Drawing Assist. Switch back to our black color, the second color on the top row, and switch back to our dry ink brush under the inking category. Same size at 10%. And we're just going to start on the right ear here, and we are going to draw the little inner piece. So I'm going to start just a little ways from like where the side of my head would be, and I'm going to kind of draw this little C shape, like a backward C, right in the middle. And then from the top of this, I'm going to go up and then kind of follow the shape of my ear until I just kind of gradually fade off on the side there. I want to do a better fade off. So again, up and then kind of follow it and then kind of fade it off right there. Next, we are going to add our hair so that the shape and everything of our hair is done. And then we will move on to the last details, all of our shadows, highlights, texture, all that good stuff. So the hair will really complete our picture. It looks kind of funny right now. Let's go ahead and add a new layer at the top of all of our layers. We are going to click on this layer, turn on Drawing Assist so that we can use Symmetry. So we're going to use Symmetry at first just to get a base shape, and then we're going to turn it off and make some adjustments. So on our new layer here, we are going to grab our hair color, which is the first color on the last row of our color palette. We are going to switch back to our monoline brush again, under the calligraphy tab, still at 30%. So we are going to start at the top of our head here, right on our symmetry line. And we are going to make like our little bang. So that's going to be like a little curve here. So we're going to just start there, draw a nice kind of curved line, hold it down if you want to make it a nice smooth line. And I'm just going to have it kind of meet with the top right side of my head here and then stop. Go ahead and click the arc button if you need to at the top to adjust it at all if you want to. Just make sure it kind of goes off the right side of our head here. Meets up nicely in the center, covers our whole head, there's no gap there, and has a nice curve to it. This is, again, we want a good amount of space between this and our eyebrow, but I think this looks good. So we still have a good amount of like a forehead showing. Okay, then we are going to go kind of just straight up on our symmetry line a little ways, like maybe right about here. So there's a little bit that's kind of like where our roots are going to show. So then right at this next point, we are going to draw the rest of our hair. Okay, so again, we'll just kind of start with a basic shape and then we can build on it if we need to. So starting at the top center here, we're going to draw like a nice curved line going up and to the right, kind of outside of our ear here. I'm going to hold that down so it turns nice and smooth. Again, going further out than our ear, kind of curving up towards the top here. Go ahead and click the edit button if you need to adjust it at all. I might just adjust it down a smidge, like so. Okay. Then from the side here, we're going to kind of continue our curve. So mine curved in a little bit there, but I'm just going to kind of continue it around the side here, like so. Then where the ears, we're just going to kind of dip in a little bit and then back out around to the bottom. So kind of something like this. And then we'll just kind of round into the center here like so. So I might just kind of smooth some of this out. So with my eraser tool too, I might just kind of erase here, get a nice kind of curve in by my ear. A nice kind of curve back out. Smooth it all out. Make sure there's a nice kind of wrap around down here to the bottom. And the bottom part doesn't need to be as smooth because we're going to use a horizontal line to cut that off. But just kind of make sure it goes a good ways underneath our face here. Like so. So we have a good little bit showing there. But that is the general shape of it. So go ahead and continue to smooth it out if you need to. I might make my top bumps go out a little bit further. Something like this. Okay, and then to start filling it in, we are first going to connect where our bangs are, connect them to the side so that we have kind of a closed shape up here that we can fill in. I have all these other little pieces to fill in too from all my adjusting, so I'm just going to do that with my brush. So do that if you need to. And then to fill in the rest of this so that it doesn't fill in over our face like our bangs did, which we wanted, we are going to go to our layer menu, find our face shape layer, click on that layer, click select. You should see diagonal lines outside of the face layer. So make sure like color fill is turned off and everything and nothing like happened. It didn't like change color or anything. So you should see the diagonal lines outside of it. Click invert so that you see the diagonal lines inside the face shape. Then without doing anything else, we're just going to go straight back to our hair layer. We have our hair color selected and we're just going to drag and drop it outside of the face and it will fill that in. Again, don't worry about the bottom so much. We'll adjust that soon, but go ahead and fill in any other little bits. So I'm going to fill in these ones with my brush, like so. Then we need to see our ears. So we're going to do a similar thing for that. So to see our ears stick through. So now let's go to our ear layer on our layer menu. Click on that layer and click select. This time we don't click invert because we want to erase right above our ear shapes here. So you should see diagonal lines everywhere except for where your ears are. It should just be kind of a blank space there. Then we'll go back to our hair layer. This time grab our eraser tool, which I also have set to the monoline brush. And we're just going to erase right there all over, like so. So you should have a nice cutout there where we can see our ears. So now click your selection tool to turn it off, and then on our layer menu here you can see our hair layer, and it's just got a nice cutout of a face shape in it. Okay, now we're going to go to our layer menu, click on our hair layer and turn off drawing assist, and now we're going to do some more adjusting so that our hair isn't symmetrical on both sides. We don't want it to be perfectly symmetrical. Now that it's all filled in, we can also do more adjusting, so I might adjust some of my shapes here. So I'm using my eraser tool right now to kind of just tone this bump down a little bit. It was a little crazy. And again, symmetry is turned off right now. If you need to turn symmetry on to do some of your adjusting, go ahead. But I'm just going to kind of adjust them separately so they're not perfectly identical anymore. But if it's easier for you to do some of this on symmetry, feel free to leave it on. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of tone that down. It was getting a little too crazy. And then similarly at the bottom here, I'm just going to kind of bring this bottom curve in just a little bit. It's kind of just stuck out way too far. And then I'm going to curve it in even further on the bottom here so we get a nice little kind of wave. And then I'll do a similar thing on the other side. Try to make it nice and smooth. And then across the bottom, we are going to make a straight erased line. So again, we can continue adjusting in a second, but if you're ready, let's go ahead and erase the bottom line of our hair. So with our eraser tool on the monoline brush, I have it set to 80%. I'm just going to start on one side, erase a straight line all the way across, hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth, and then touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. Click your line button at the top if you need to move it. Don't adjust the angle at all by touching any of the blue dots, but if you just need to move it around, you can touch anywhere else and just kind of set it nicely where it kind of hits at a good spot on the left and right side to make a good cutoff point there. Then grab your eraser tool and you can erase what's left underneath it. Okay, and then that is our cute little hairstyle. I might make it a little bit longer. So I can't adjust it with my arrow tool on freeform because that will mess up all of the cutouts that we did. I wish I could just do that, but I can't. So I'm just going to just kind of redraw the sides here. So I'm just going to kind of drag them down a little further, make another kind of straight line across the bottom, and then connect up with this one. Again, fill that in, and then do another erased line across the bottom to make another straight line there. So it's a little bit longer there. Okay. Erase what's left again. And then if you want to do any more adjusting, you can. I might kind of just do some more smoothing and just kind of make sure everything's looking good. But otherwise, I think it looks nice. And again, they're not perfectly symmetrical. So now we're going to do even a little bit further. We're going to add some details. So we're going to add some hair strands and some little kind of cutouts on the bottom that look like, the hair is falling in different chunks. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and add the hair strands first. So we're going to stay on the same layer, same color, the first one on the third row. We're going to switch back to our dry ink brush under the inking category at 10%. And we are just going to add a few little kind of stray strands. So I'm going to start on the bottom left here where this curve is. And I'm just going to start towards the top. I'm going to follow it and just kind of curve out and then curve back in. So we just get like a loose strand there. I might do the same thing at the top here. Make it nice and smooth though. Something like that. And then again, I don't want them to be like identical on the side. So this one's a little higher up. I might make one on the right side here that's a little kind of further down on this side. And then same thing like here. I kind of made a big one there. I might just make a like smaller one down again towards the bottom. Like so. And then same thing on our bangs. I'm going to have one on each side there. Again, maybe just a little bit different on each one. Something like that perhaps. Okay, then to make the little cutouts on the bottom, I'm going to grab my eraser tool on the monoline brush. I'm going to lower the size quite a bit to like maybe 20%. And I'm just going to start on the right side here, and I'm just going to kind of make like a triangular shaped little cutout. Then I will go through and just erase everything else in the middle. I kind of tilted it the same direction as my hair. Then maybe I'll go over and I'll make like another one, just another like, again, triangular shape. This time I kind of curved the lines, made it more like straight up and down. And then maybe I'll just kind of make a small one here. And a larger one here. Something like that. Then we will go back in with our pen tool again, the dry ink brush with the same hair color, and I'm just going to kind of go over them to make them a little pointier and just to kind of add a little bit of texture on the edges of them. Like so. So that gives us a nice point. Makes them look a little bit more natural. Okay, and then that is it for all of our different pieces. Aside from the barrettes, we still need to add our barrettes in our hair. So to do that, we will go to our layer menu, add another new layer. No drawing assist this time. Grab the third color on the bottom row of the color palette and switch back to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. I have it set to 30% still, and I'm just going to zoom in on the right little bang here where it meets my hair. I'm going to start there, and I'm just going to make kind of a rounded rectangle, kind of in that general direction. So kind of like a little bit tilted with my hair. Nice and skinny though, nothing too thick. And we didn't turn symmetry on just because it might be a little bit different on both sides. So that looks good. It's a little bit too angled. I'm going to grab my arrow tool while I can and just rotate it this way a little bit. Kind of replace it there. And then I'll just kind of continue on. So I want it to be like over my face a little bit, like so. And then I just might make it a little bit bigger though. Does not have to be anything too perfect. Okay, and then once we like that, we will just make a duplicate for the other side. So go to our layer menu on this layer with our barrette, slide to the left and hit duplicate, click the arrow tool, and first just click flip horizontal so it flips the other direction, then drag it on over here, place it there nicely. If you need to rotate it or resize it at all, go ahead and do so. Otherwise, that looks good. I might move it over just a little bit more. Okay. And those are our barrettes in our hair. So that looks nice. Now we can go ahead and add texture and shadows and stuff to everything. So let's just go ahead and get started. Let's start on the very bottom layer. Let's just go ahead and start there and work our way up. So the very bottom layer is our ear layer. Symmetry is turned on, that's fine. We can use symmetry for this. So click on it and just turn on alpha lock. So we're only drawing within this shape. So for our ears, we used this first color on the second row as a base color. We'll use a second color slightly lighter than our base color. So if you did use a different base color, different skin tone, just use a slightly lighter version of it. And then for our texture brush, we are going to grab the to be compressed charcoal brush under the charcoals category. Set pretty low, maybe like 10% first. We're just going to add like an all over texture at first. So 10% with this slightly lighter color. We're just going to drag this all over our ear. Just like one nice good layer. If you zoom in really far, you'll see the texture. So this is just to get an all over texture on it. Now we're going to add some highlights. So with our third color on the second row, switch to that now so it's just slightly lighter than the one we just used. We'll lower our brush size a little bit to like 5%, and we will just kind of add this on like the edges. So the top and right side there. And then we'll skip over this next color that's mostly going to be used on our face, but we will skip now to a darker color. So it's darker than our base color. Slightly darker. We'll drop our brush size even smaller to like 3%. And we will just zoom in and right where our black line is on the inside of it, we're going to use this darker color to create a shadow. So just kind of all the way around, I did do it pretty lightly in this open area, and then push a little harder kind of right near my black line to create a darker kind of shadow there. And then I'm also going to create a shadow right to the right of my face. So just kind of start drawing in that general area where my face is to create that there. Make sure it looks okay on the other side as well. And that's it for the ear. So now we're going to do kind of a similar thing to everything. So let's continue on. So our next layer above this is our line on our ears, so we'll leave that layer alone, but then the one above that is our face. So let's go ahead and do our face. So we'll click on this layer first, set it to alpha lock. Make sure drawing assist isn't turned on. It shouldn't be, but just in case, just make sure it does not say assisted, but alpha lock is turned on. Same thing, we used our first color on our second row for our base, so we will use our second color for like an all over texture. Again, this time we'll increase our brush size even further to maybe like 20% and just kind of lightly drag this all over the face for a nice good layer of texture, like so. Then we will go to our next color and line the third one on the second row, lighter still, drop our brush size again, this time to maybe 10%. And we will just kind of add this where like the highlights of our face would be. So we're going to start maybe like in the center of our forehead, very, very lightly, just kind of going back and forth there, in between our eyebrows, down like the bridge of our nose. Again, very, very lightly to kind of like make sure it blends nicely. Just add a little bit right in the center of our nose too. And then maybe a little bit like on our top lip, a little bit like on the center of our chin, and maybe a little bit like on our cheeks here. Kind of towards the top, like under our eyes. Something like that. And then maybe even like on the sides of our face a little bit as well. Just on like the sides, the bottom part we'll add a shadow too, so just kind of on the sides, like maybe by our temples down to like where it rounds into our chin. Okay, then we will grab our next color and line the lightest one, so even lighter than the one we were just on, and we will drop our size again to like 5%, and we were just going to focus this on the very center of our nose, down like where our line is, very, very lightly. You can decrease your size even further if you need to. And then just the teeniest bit in our forehead, like in a little tiny triangle at the top here. Very, very lightly again. Nothing too crazy there. And then on the tip of our nose, very, very lightly, just a little kind of circle there. And that is it for this really bright color. Otherwise, that is it for our highlights. So now we'll move on to our shadows. So our shadow color, the 5th one on the 2nd row. Same brush. Let's just leave the size at 5%. That's fine. We are going to use this first around our eyes. So all the way around them. So I'm just going to start on the inside and just kind of work my way out all the way around to create a nice kind of shadow there. So I did it to one side. I'll do it to the other. I kind of let it go out a little further, like on the far side. So like where my big lashes are and like at the top. And then it's a little thinner, like on the inner corner and the bottom. Okay. We'll add a shadow next to the hairline. So starting in the center, I'll just kind of follow my little bangs that I drew. And then maybe a little bit just on the temple here again. Just kind of a little shadow there. Same thing on the other side. And then a little bit kind of on the jaw. Just very, very lightly there. On both sides. And kind of through the middle, just the teeniest little bit. Okay, and then we need a shadow around the bottom of our nose, but we need to decrease our brush size even further to maybe like 3%. And we'll just add it just kind of right on the outside of our black line at the bottom here. Just a teeniest little bit of a shadow. Okay, and that's for all of our face highlights and shadows. Now on a new layer, we're going to add the cheeks. So we're just going to go to our layer menu, add a layer right above this one. Click on it and turn on Drawing Assist so that our cheeks are symmetrical. Grab our 2nd color of our reds here. So it is the 7th one on the 2nd row. And we are still on our 2B compressed charcoal. Let's just set it to 5% for this. And I'm just going to start on the right side here, just kind of in this open area here. And I'm going to make just a little oval, start in like an oval shape. Kind of work my way out very, very lightly. And it's just slanted just the teeniest bit like up and to the right. Again, just very lightly kind of working my way out to get a nice little cheek there. Like so. Okay, let's move right along. So next up is our eyeballs. So the next layer in line is our eyelashes, but we'll move on to our white eyeball shape. If Drawing Assist is turned on, that's fine. We will leave that on, but click on it and turn on Alpha Lock. And we are just going to draw some shadows on the tops of our eyes to kind of make it look like they, have an eyelid above them, kind of casting a little bit of a shadow. So the 3rd color on the top row was the base color that we used to draw our eyeball shape. So we'll use the next one in line first and then the next 2 after that. So we are starting with the 4th one on the top row. Same 2B compressed charcoal at 5%. And I'm just going to use the right one here and I'm just going to draw maybe halfway down in a slightly curved motion, like slightly curved from left to right, like going up in the middle just a little bit, all the way up. Next color in line, the 5th one on the top row, and we'll just start a little bit higher. Do the same thing. And then finally our last one on the top row, 6th in line, and we'll do this just on the top edge, top and kind of right edge, like so, to create kind of a shadow there. Okay, the next layer that we will draw on is our lips layer. So the lip color layer that we have here, click on it and turn on Alpha Lock. And then again, we used this 6th color on the 2nd row as our base color. We have one lighter, one darker, and one really, really light for like a little highlight kind of glossiness to it. So we are actually going to start with the darker one, the 8th one on the 2nd row. Same brush at 5%, and I'm just going to start kind of in the middle. So right in the middle where my black line is, I'm going to start kind of on it so that we get some on the top and the bottom. So just on the inner part of the top and bottom lip, we have this darker color till we get about halfway through each lip there. Then we'll grab the lighter one, not the lightest one yet, but the 7th one on the 2nd row, and add that to the top and bottom. So just where that little bit is that we didn't touch yet. Add a little bit there, kind of blend it together nicely, very lightly there. And then we will grab our lightest color, the 9th one on the 2nd row, set our brush pretty low to like 3%, and we're just going to add a tiny little highlight kind of like on the top and middle area here. Just a tiny little section there, pretty lightly again. Then maybe even a little bit on the bottom, just kind of where our really light color is. Just in a few little sections there, like so. So that just makes our lips look nice and glossy. Okay, and then last up is our hair. So let's find our hair layer. Click on that layer and turn on Alpha Lock. Make sure Drawing Assist is turned off. And again, we actually just have one lighter color and one darker color for this one. The 3rd color, the lightest one, that was our barrette. So we are just going to use a slightly lighter color than our base and a slightly darker color than our base. So if you used a different base color for your hair, just grab a slightly lighter and a slightly darker version of it. So we will start with the darker version again this time. So the last one on the last row, it's 4th in line. Same 2B compressed charcoal brush, and we'll raise the size to maybe 10%. And we are just going to add this kind of shadow color. We're going to first just like follow our jawline very, very lightly. Again, we don't want anything too crazy. So just follow the jawline from left to right, from ear to ear. We're going to add a little bit more of a shadow kind of in the middle here, like where our neck would be. So the bottom kind of middle, like so. We're also just going to follow our ears just a tiny bit. Very, very lightly again, just more towards the bottom of them. And then we're also just going to kind of extend this shadow on the right here. So just a little bit of a shadow kind of where the hair dips in on the left and right side. So just all the way to the edge with a little shadow there. Okay, and then we'll grab our 2nd color on the last row, our highlight color, and we'll just kind of add this mostly everywhere else, but nothing too crazy. I'm still at 10% for my size, so I'm just going to add it kind of to these big bulging pieces here that we would have like some nice highlights to them. So on the bottom, left and right side, and then the top part as well, just kind of a nice big highlight through that. Just kind of all over, like so. Okay, and then we're going to have a little bit of a root showing in the middle, so a darker root there in the top middle. So we'll go back to our dark color again, the last one on the last row, 4th in line, and very, very lightly in the center. My brush is still at 10%. I might need to lower it, but we'll see. But just going very lightly in the center, kind of back and forth through the middle. That looks good. Beautiful. So something kind of like that. Okay, and then also with our darker color for the last time, we are going to lower the size to like 3%, really small, and add just the tiniest little shadow underneath our barrette here on the bottom side of it on each side. Okay, then our hair is a little extra special in that we're going to use the dry ink brush as well to add some strands of these darker and lighter colors just to add more texture to our hair and make it look more hair-like. So we're going to just do that on the same layer now that all of our textures are laid down. And we are first going to start with the darker color. We're already on that one. So the 4th color on the bottom row, switch back to our dry ink brush at 10%. And mainly our darker color will first start again on the roots. So right in the center, I'm just going to kind of draw some little kind of lines coming out of it at kind of varying lengths. So some longer, some shorter, just kind of coming off both sides here, like so. Then we'll just add in some few random ones here and there. So I'm just going to kind of follow like the shape of my hair. So very lightly, I'm just kind of like drawing in like the direction of our bangs, the shape at the top here, like the curve there. Might add some just little tiny ones here and there. Then yeah, in the bottom here, we'll just kind of again follow kind of the shape of it all the way throughout. Very, very lightly here. Like so. So just kind of here and there, add a nice kind of variety. And then we'll do the same thing with our lighter color now. So the second color on the last row, we'll just kind of do the same thing aside from the roots. The roots will just stay dark. But then we'll add just kind of some nice bright little pieces of the hair throughout. Same thing, just kind of following our shapes. So just do as much or as little of that as you would like. And then that completes our drawing today. So I hope you had fun. I hope that you like the way that yours turned out. If you would like to see more tutorials from me in the future, go ahead and subscribe. Again, if you would like to check out the extra tutorials I offer over on Patreon, I have that linked in the description below. If you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it. So go ahead and post it and then tag me so that I can check it out. While you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching.